Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Body Talks, Mind Listens. I'm happy to have you here. I am your host, Indu Agarwal from California. Today's guest is Caryn Childs, and she will take us deep into her world of body talk, and she will also share secrets of our inner communication. Welcome, Caryn.
Thank you, Indu. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So let's start, Caryn, with the first question: where you are located and how long you've been practicing body talk.
So I'm in Cape Town in South Africa. I have a small clinic there, and I've been practicing for 10 years now. I initially practiced in the north of the country for about 6 years, and then I moved down to Cape Town about 4 years ago and opened a clinic down here.
Wow, that's my dream, to come visit Cape Town. I've been to South Africa, but missed Cape Town. What a beautiful
I don't
location
think
you
you'll
are
be
at.
disappointed. Yeah, it is very beautiful.
Very beautiful. So tell us, where did your journey start with body talk?
Well, to answer that question, I would need to go back to 1994. I had my second child, and he suffered from numerous lung infections, and he was constantly at doctors, on medication, in hospital. We were averaging a hospital visit every 4 to 6 weeks.
Wow.
And I didn't really like where this was leading, because I felt that he was suffering and that the hospitalizations were becoming too frequent. So my gut just said to me, this isn't good. And my moment of truth came when he was admitted again, and the doctor just administered drugs without assessing him. And
Wow.
and in the week that he was in hospital, he lost a third of his body weight. And when you watch that happening to your child, you're obviously incredibly frightened. And I went to the doctor and I said to him that I'd been observing my son, and I thought that there may be something more sinister going on, and that maybe he was being treated for the wrong thing. And the doctor discharged him on the spot, literally, and asked me who I thought I was and if I knew who he was.
Whoa.
So that was a very difficult situation for a young mother, and what I did is I went straight to the nurse's station, because obviously he was limp in my arms. I had to take him out of the room. I had to go down, I had to pay my bill. So I shared my thoughts with them, the dilemma that I was in. And they could see how sick he was. And so they authorized x-rays, which they weren't allowed to do. And then they put me in touch with another doctor who validated and supported everything that I had instinctively understood about his condition. And then within hours of him being treated by this doctor, he was fully functional again. So this was a red flag for me. And even though the follow-up doctor was amazing, it made me question, how we place so much authority in people who are just ordinary, they're just like us, but we place them in these positions of power over us by allowing them to take control of our health as if it's not our responsibility. And I think it's unfair to everyone. It's unfair to the doctor, it's unfair to the sick person, it's unfair to everyone. So after that, I started to do research, and I bought an air purifier, and I started him on swimming lessons. I slowly weaned him off the nebulizer and all his medications, until his body started to realign itself, and it was starting to repair itself. So, having said that, I'm not against medicine, but I think that what frightened me was with this particular person was the lack of empathy, the lack of engagement, and of conversation around how I was feeling, what my son was feeling, what I was witnessing, because I could see how everything was connected because, we'd gone through this a number of times. So I think what it did is it ignited in me a knowing and an appreciation for the intuitive side of my nature. And I started on a journey of discovery. So initially, I wasn't really looking so much at the physical. I was more interested in mental health. And so I studied psychology, I studied psychotherapy, I studied art therapy to gain a deeper understanding. And then in 2006, I was introduced to Body Talk. And suddenly it all came together. It all made sense. Body, mind, spirit. That they're all connected and that the physical manifestations are the body's way of telling us about mental and emotional imbalances as well. It also made me understand how incredible the human body is and how it can self-heal and self-regulate if we treat it right.
What a heart-wrenching story. I mean, a young new mother and going through, this dilemma of what is the healthcare that is best for your child. Yeah, ultimately, all
Yeah,
of this
yeah.
led to, discovery and whatnot, but I can only imagine that what you were going through at that time.
Yeah, it was very hard because I was on my own trying to manage the situation because my husband was traveling, so I was left to sort of figure it out by myself. And yeah, so it was very challenging, but it certainly did open my eyes to my own intuition, sort of trusting it. And funnily enough, a few years later, my daughter got sick. And I went in and I said to the doctor, I think, if you check for this, I think this is where we're at. And he did it, and it was 100% correct. And it was a mycoplasma pneumonia that she had gotten. But I knew the connections. Do you know what I'm saying? It was the connections that I was making that went like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I get this, I understand it, and that's what really led me on my path. And funnily enough, it really wasn't about the physical body initially. It was more about the mental body. I was more interested in that. And the physical body sort of evolved out of that because I realized suddenly that it was actually talking to me, and that it was actually giving me a heads up on what it is that was wrong. And for
Very
me to ignore it would actually be doing myself a disservice.
exactly. Body is a manifestation of what is going on in our mind and spirit and everything
Exactly.
around us,
Mm.
right? So,
Exactly,
if we
yeah. But it
start
took
with
me a
the,
while.
yeah, well, I think for most people, it's some event that happens that takes you on this path, and that is the whole reason for having this discussion is that just arriving at Body Talk is very interesting journey. So that's what always caught my attention. That sometimes we talk about, there's not enough marketing, even though Body Talk is practiced in 50 plus countries. But at the same
Mm.
time, we have said it before, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So it's like we have to get on,
Exactly.
we have to get on that path of healing and discovering our power. And wow, and that's the exact time Body Talk shows up, right?
Yeah, I would agree 100% because I was floundering, I was going like, because I was a teacher and I was teaching, I was a specialist art teacher. So I was seeing that the children were trying to communicate with me through their art. And so my automatic response to that was, okay, let me go and study psychology, let me go and study psychotherapy, let me go and study art therapy, because maybe I will have a better understanding of what the children are trying to tell me, you know. So that's where my head went. But then when I was introduced to Body Talk, I suddenly saw that, wow, you know, there's a whole lot of stuff out there, you know, that feeds into this final expression, you know, and I need to find out more about that.
So, did you take a session, or there was a class offered? How the actual introduction happened to Body Talk?
So I was running an art exhibition, and we, you know, at the exhibition, it was for a week, and so we all had like a time that we had to sit behind the desk. And one day I was sitting there, and this girl came up to me, and we started chatting. And I had a really sore hip. My husband used to say I run like a crab, and because I run sideways. And I'd had this sore hip for about 2 years, and this girl sat down, and she obviously saw me grimace, and she said to me, "What's wrong?" And I told her, and she said to me, "Oh, I've just started this new thing, and it's called Body Talk." And I had been for scans and x-rays and all of those things for my hip. The doctors couldn't see anything wrong. So she said to me, would you like to come for a session? So I thought, well, I've got nothing to lose. So I went for a session, and I was with her for about 30 minutes. And I got up from the table, and I've never had a sore hip again.
Wow.
So you know, you can imagine it was like, I need to know more about this stuff.
I need to know this magic.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, because if you can do this, then, you know, my goodness, imagine what else, you know, we can do with it. But she was great, because she explained things to me, you know, as she was moving through the session, which was lovely, because she could obviously see that I was absolutely fascinated by what it was that she was doing.
Good one. Good one. So, this was all in South Africa, or were you somewhere else at
Yes.
that time?
No,
Okay.
I was in South Africa. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you said that was 10 years ago, right? That's when you became a practitioner?
No, I was introduced to Body Talk in 2006. So I was still a teacher, and I left the teaching profession in 2011. But prior to my leaving, I'd already started dabbling, you know, like you do Access, and you do Mindscape, and you do, you know, and I already also, you know, I'd done quite a lot of other kind of studying. So I did my fundamentals, and then I literally worked with, you know, with the mind, with the mental health part of it, until somebody convinced me to do. So I did a sort of module 3, module 6. You know, all of the things that would be around consciousness and, you know, the mind and those kind of things. And then somebody convinced me that I needed to do the lymphatic drainage, and I was so resistant. But it's one of the best things I ever did, really, because it just opened my mind to this real connection. You know, up until then, the connection was theoretical, you know, because I didn't know enough. And as soon as I did the lymphatic drainage, everything shifted.
Interesting.
And the fascination just grew and grew and grew.
So just to give our listeners a little bit of a background here, in order to become a Body Talk practitioner, we start with first course, which is Body Talk Fundamentals. And then we do some practice sessions, about 50 of them. And then we come back and take either fundamentals one more time, or fundamentals integration. And then you can become a basic level practitioner, certified Body Talk practitioners. And what Caryn is talking about is, and then there are a lot of other modules that dig deeper into various aspects of consciousness. You can say cultural energies, lymphatic drainage, the matrix around us. So there are about, I think, 8 or 9 total modules that you can take. And in addition to that, there are classes in life sciences. For example, Mindscape that she was talking about delves into how to develop your alpha mind, and you get better in using your intuition. Right, Caryn?
Yes, absolutely. And Mindscape also, it's mind blowing. It really is mind blowing, and it's something that I would highly recommend to anyone. You know, the potential that we have as human beings is revealed when you do Mindscape. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and my story about Mindscape is that it came to me about probably 8 years ago, and some people said, "Oh, you are training in mindfulness and whatnot. You probably don't need to take it." So I didn't take it, and when I took it now about 3 years ago, and I'm going, "Oh my God, why didn't I take
Yeah.
it earlier?"
Why didn't I take it? Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It is
Uh,
absolutely mind blowing.
so, just you told me how much difference Body Talk has made in your life, and obviously you have taken all kinds of courses. Do you also want to share some um, examples or that how you were able to introduce it to other people, and if examples of what difference it made for them?
Yeah, so it's always very difficult to explain what it is that you do,
Yes.
because it's actually quite magical, and so I always say to people, what you want to do is you want to come in and experience it, and you will be blown away by the information that the body stores in every single fiber of its being. And often people will go like, but you're psychic. And I'll go like, no, I'm not. I'm just giving you the information that I'm getting from your body. And I try to explain to them, your body leads me from here to here to here, and each one of these organs have the ability to carry emotion, or so if this organ is coming up, then I know that I can ask you very specific questions, and you can answer yes or no to what it is that I'm asking you. But more often than not, I might ask someone specific questions, and then they'll go like, oh no, absolutely not me. And then 3 minutes down the line, they'll go like, yes, but this and this and this. And then I'll go like, well, do you remember when you said that was not me? Do you feel now that maybe it relates to what it is that we found, within the stomach and your anxiety or whatever it is? But I do find it difficult to sort of stand up there and sort of say, well, this is what body talk is, because it literally is, us talking to the body, us getting information from the body, us allowing the body to guide and facilitate its own healing pathway. And people are so, dependent on somebody else telling them, this is what's wrong with you, this is what you need to take. They're not used to, sort of turning it on themselves, and the body actually saying, well, this is what I need, and this is what I need to do, and this is how I need you to treat me for me to be optimally healthy. I don't think, that's sort of a foreign concept to people.
Very well explained. But you're absolutely right that when somebody has never experienced Body Talk, and you were describing in words. First, you kind of start out with what it is not. It is not Reiki.
Mhm.
It is your self healing power. I'm not a healer. I'm not a psychic.
Mm.
It is the story
Mm.
revealed by your body. And they go, "You literally talk to my body?" I said, "Yes, I'm trained to
Mm.
ask those questions so that the body
Mm.
will give me those answers intuitively." And then, of course,
Mm.
just like you
Mm.
said, we asked the client for the confirmation, at age 23, what is something significant that happened, and then the connections are made and the story is revealed, and that energy that is being held in some part of the body can be released just because the
Mm.
story comes up, and you are reminded of that story. You can release the energy, because all of us, we keep secrets in very dark corners of our body, but body does
We
not forget.
absolutely do, yeah.
The body doesn't
It doesn't
forget.
forget. No, it doesn't forget. And, obviously what it does is it causes, if you like, structural imperfections and blockages and things like that. And that's why I've become so interested in this whole concept of how the body communicates with itself. We have an idea of how the body mind communicates, because the body, gets diseased. That maybe there's chronic illness, maybe there's pain, maybe there's digestion problems. So the body is saying to you, there is an imbalance here, and it's asking you to notice, and then maybe to do something to rectify it. But then my next question is how does the body communicate internally? How does it communicate with itself if it communicates like that? Because it doesn't have words.
Yeah.
And that's what
Mhm.
led me on a little quest, to of discovery, I suppose. But the discovery for me was within that fascination, um, on how it communicates through the lymph system, through the nervous system, through the blood, and even through the meridian. So it communicates through energy flow. And then I watched a really interesting video about water and how water has memory. So then that got me thinking, well, the body's 70% water. The Earth's surface is 70% water.
Yes.
The cells in your body are about 70% water. The building blocks of the body depend on water to develop their health, and the way they behave depends on water, amongst other things. So water must be particularly important, if you think about that. I mean, the surface of the earth wouldn't be covered with all this water, and we wouldn't be made up of this water if it wasn't important. So why do we sort of go like, okay, well, drinking water is important? There has to be more to it than that. And that sort of got me thinking, you know, about how maybe water has vibration, it has memory, um, and maybe the words of the body are communicated through the water. And I know that sounds like a completely bizarre concept, but maybe that's how things happen. And maybe there are people out there who've actually done the research. I mean, I have read and been exposed to a couple of books, of researchers who've looked at water. And I think we've all seen that beautiful, those images of water when you display anger towards it, or you play beautiful music, or how the droplets change in their shape, and how they look
Mhm.
like flowers, and things like that. So that says to me that just as our words in different circumstances can have different intentions and meanings, water in its different forms and different channels can also have different intentions and meaning. So our words can bring comfort, they can nourish, um, they can support if the communications that we engage in are supportive and nourishing. But if our environment is broken and destructive, then the words that come out of our mouths tend to be different, and they can be used to hurt and belittle and criticize. So for me, the idea was like, okay, so if you can understand that our goal in Body Talk is to reestablish communication between systems, we must consider how these systems communicate. And that the words, not just your physical words, but your thoughts and intentions as well, will influence the patterns of communication within the body mind. So for me, that was a little bit of a challenge. I wanted to see, how this communication happened in the body. So, I just thought that was really, really interesting. And then if you think about it, if water has vibrational quality, if water has memory, okay, now imagine if angry words get spoken to a small child. And those angry words get spoken to them over and over and over again. And the vibration of the water in the body it's almost like the erosion of a rock at the seaside. Slowly the emotions get eroded away, and the child starts to believe the new way of being, with all of these crevices and cracks and things in their little bodies, because enough times these things have been said, and enough times the vibration has been negative. And I think it's so profound. If you say to parents, your words on a very, very physical, fundamental way can actually create that erosion of the self because of the vibration of the water within the body.
Wow. Yeah, that is really a profound subject. I'm reminded of a couple of books. I think one you kind of refer to, that is the Japanese author
That's right. Yes.
Masaru
Yeah.
Emoto's book, right? On
Yes.
the title escapes me at the moment, but that's where he talks about. Well, he has various pictures of water crystals and how water freezes when different words are spoken just to water,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And
mm,
the second book, Our Body Keeps the Score. And in that one,
mm,
the author has very clearly explained that whatever is being said and whatever is being stored remains in the body until it is released by some mechanism. So,
mm.
but you are right. It's an interesting subject, that how the communication goes inside the body and within the body, and how do you release that energy is still a big subject.
Yes, and remember that water is a conductor.
Oh yeah,
So
that's
it makes complete sense, that the for me it was sort of like, what is the language that we're dealing with here? Because obviously the language on the physical level is the language of pain or discomfort or disease,
mm-hmm.
or illness. But what is the language within the body? How are these things sort of communicating with each other within the body? And of course it isn't all water, I mean, it can't be, because we have the meridian, so that's energy
Mm-hmm.
flow. So that's a different kind of communication, but maybe lymph, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and blood, is it the right thing to say to someone, okay, I see that your ankle is swollen. Okay, now there's lymph. Okay, so what is the lymph communicating, to the ankle? We know that the ankle communicates something. We know that the pain communicates something. But what
Mm-hmm.
is that lymph communicating? So now you're adding something extra in there, which is allowing you to maybe dig a little bit deeper. And the thing that really got me was that, you know, you place water onto a surface, okay, and then you see how that water on the surface reacts if you play aggressive music, and then you see how that surface reacts if you play calm and soothing music, you know, and then you can start to imagine that that is happening in your body, you know, and what stress does to that, and how it can sort of over a period of time literally erode it away like water on a rock, and create new pathways. And of course, if you create new pathways, then a different communication is established. And then, you know, how does one then reverse that communication or get rid of it or reassign it, so repurpose it? You know, so I find that really, really quite interesting. That's why I said to you at the beginning, initially, I was only about like the mental health. But then when it hit me, you know, that physically there's something really, really quite profound here. I was just totally, you know, blown away by the potential of the body's communication. You know, it's like, it's so obvious. You know, I've got a headache. There's not, something's not balanced. You know, let me go find out what it is. But now within the body itself, and just thinking of the profound effects of people knowing and understanding what it is their words, their thoughts, their actions can actually do to them and to somebody else.
Yeah, and the words we speak to ourselves.
Exactly.
The self
Exactly. Yeah.
criticism, that voice in the head that is always, saying something, you didn't do this right, you should have done it another way, and how come you don't behave this way, that person said this. How much of damage we're doing to ourselves, leave aside other people.
Exactly. Exactly. And how we take other people's opinions of us as our truth, you know, and we just allow it to erode away at us, how we overthink that and worry about that. And, you know, it's really, it is a fascinating topic. And I think if people were more aware of, you know, that, I think I said it right at the beginning, you know, I just became aware that we need to take control, you know, of the outcome that we want. You know, we can't rely on somebody else to say, okay, well, if you take this pill, or if you do this exercise, or if you know, lead this kind of a lifestyle, then you're going to be healthy. Because I mean, even with something like water, you know, too much of something is not good for you, and too little of something is not good for you. You know, and so you have to create your own balance, your own happy medium as to what it is that you need within your system, and what will keep your system healthy, and your thoughts and your actions, you know, healthy. So sorry, I went a bit off topic there, but that for me is a really fascinating
Yeah, no,
fascinating
that's
concept.
fine. What was coming to my mind is that you bring up an excellent point, that everybody's body and environment and their life is unique. So that's why if you
Mm,
go to only one particular doctor or one particular modality, one thing, it is not enough, because you are more than
mm,
just a body. And that is the best
mm,
thing I like about body talk system, is that it works in complement with any other thing that you want to try, number one. And
mm,
number two is,
mm,
it is a journey, because the
mm,
consciousness healing is unique to each individual depending on their journey. And the session where story is being revealed, yes, you hear that story, but even when you leave that session, you still go
mm,
back and think about okay, this is what I heard, and there's a possibility that shows up that I, with this awareness, I can do things a little differently because this is what my
Mm,
body is telling me. It's not, a
mm,
third person or somebody from external is communicating. My own body is telling me. So this is the ultimate
mm,
truth. And
mm.
that's when the real journey starts, and that it almost becomes a spiritual journey, not just a physical
I think it does, yeah.
journey.
Mm. I think it is very much a spiritual journey, because I think everything ultimately connects to that spiritual self. I think that is, the higher self, and our physical body is just that manifestation, and our emotional body is the experiences that we're having, but it isn't us.
Mm-hmm.
It is the experiences that we're having around us. And our physical body is the vehicle through which we're having these experiences,
Right.
And so I think you're absolutely right, that it ultimately, it's a spiritual experience, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to find balance, but we're trying to find balance with things that are very sort of concrete, you know, and
Mm.
very established. And
Right.
now you're trying to shift them around and you're trying to find balance. And sometimes they don't want to be shifted around.
Yeah, it takes time. It
Sometimes
doesn't
they,
happen
yeah,
that fast. Yeah.
they're really comfortable where they are. And so you have to sort of, sometimes someone will come in and go like, okay, well, I'm suffering with anxiety, and then the body will interpret the anxiety completely differently, because I obviously do a little bit of an intake and like, okay, like, what are your problems and how can I help you today and whatever. And you'll start doing the body talk session and the body will go like, she's really frustrated. But she's interpreted it as anxiety. And then I'll go to, do you feel more anxious or more frustrated?
Yeah.
And then what is causing, these feelings of frustration? Because your body's sort of bringing it up as something slightly different. And then when they think about it, they go like, you know what? Yeah, I think I would agree with it. I would agree that that is how it's feeling, but we're interpreting it in that limited way in which we do, because this is what we know. And so we interpret it within the confines of what it is that we know. And that's what I like about Body Talk. I think it's really expansive. Just
Yeah.
like right at the end of the protocol, it's like, okay, other modalities, and if you're thinking of what is, what something might represent, then it is all often so multifaceted. And what we as people do is we look at only from one angle, you know, and then what Body Talk does is it gives you that opportunity to widen the angle and to allow people to understand that they are, from on a very fundamental level, multidimensional, and that things, one word can mean a variety of things. It doesn't need to be just that one thing. I love that.
Great discussion, Karen. Just changing the direction a little bit and asking a question regarding South Africa matrix. I know that there are
Mm.
quite a few practitioners, and it has grown quite a bit. Maybe tell us if there is a new country where Body Talk starts, if there is something you would advise people to do.
Um, I think what has worked here in Africa as a whole is that in South Africa, if there is a country that starts up, like Kenya started up and Namibia started up, and they all belong to the South African like we invite them in, you know, to the matrix. So we put them in our magazine and we say, okay, you know, this person's in Kenya or this person's in Namibia, or, you know, so they become part of what it is that we've managed to establish here. I know that in Europe, in Germany, for example, it's quite, you know, well known. And in the UK, I'm not too sure. I have, you know, on occasion when I've gone over and I've wanted to do like courses and stuff like that, I have looked to see if I could find anything online, and sort of participate there. And then obviously in Australia. So like you said at the beginning, there are a lot of countries that do have, you know, body talkers in them. But I think the important thing is to make connections with other people who have similar ideas and have a similar mindset to what you do, and then encourage them to, you know, expand their mindset by doing body talk. So I think body talk in itself can sometimes be quite intimidating. So I think that support is very important. And by intimidating, I mean that, you know, this isn't like a natural or normal way for people to be. It is a natural way for people to be, but it isn't, in our society, it isn't a normal way for people to be where they trust their own bodies. So I don't think I've answered your question, but I've tried.
I think you kind of started there, that you know, you start with maybe two people and then you connect with others, and you know, you keep that energy going basically until it becomes a matrix and more people join. And also it's word of mouth. So you know, one person takes a session and then other people show up and then they get curious and the matrix expands. But you're right. Body talk is in one way the natural healthcare system of your body, but on the other hand,
Mm,
you know, there's a lot of undoing we have to do first to believe in it, because now
exactly.
we are all into, you know, give me the pill and I don't want to hear about the story of my pain. That you really have
Mm,
to come out of that and say, no, I do want to hear the story because I want to heal the root cause of the pain, not just the symptom.
mm,
So that is
mm,
a new way of thinking. And sometimes people just are so scared that they do not want to
yeah.
know the truth. So you know,
Mm,
and no matter how much convincing you want to do, you know, they're not ready. So you just have to wait and see
mm,
when they will come around and when they will be ready,
mm,
right?
mm. Yeah, and the thing that bothers me a lot is that, you know, I mean, a lot of people go and look for, like, they'll say to you, okay, we don't want to do like pharmaceuticals any longer. But then they go and find the relief elsewhere. And then you go like, okay, so now you're doing something else, you know, like ayahuasca or whatever it is, um, but you're using it the same way as what you would a pharmaceutical. So are you looking to see why it is you're feeling the way you're feeling? You know, I mean, ultimately what you want to do is, if you want to heal, you can't always just mask it with a product. You know, you can't just mask it with food or alcohol, or, you know, like a pharmaceutical, or a you know, or a drug, you know, like a cannabis, or, you know, you actually need to go and look, and see why that problem exists, and you need to unpack it. And you're right, people are very scared of unpacking the problem because they're very scared of facing themselves, because, you know, maybe they don't like what they see, or maybe they don't have anything else, they only have that. And so one of the things that I love to do is I like to show people how valuable they are. You know, that
Mhm.
each one of us is unique. Each one of us brings a special toolkit, you know, into the world. And it's really important that we recognize that, because I also think that if people recognize that, they wouldn't need to be jealous, they wouldn't need to bully other people. If they recognize their own value, then all of those other things wouldn't be necessary.
So true, so true. So, Caryn, what a great discussion here. Don't even want to end it, but I am gonna ask you, if you want to share your contact information, how people can get hold of you, or any other message that you want to leave us with.
I think I'd like to, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. That is really kind of you to think of me, and I hope I haven't sort of, overstayed
My
my
pleasure.
welcome. um, and I think the message that I'd like to put out there is actually just what I've said, is that you are unique, you are valuable, and every single person has a contribution to make. It might just be to one person, or it might be to the whole world, who knows. Do not underestimate your value. Stand in your authenticity, celebrate the tools that you've been gifted with, and understand and use the challenges you face to find a solution and make a difference. Everything has a domino effect. Nothing happens in isolation. And if something changes in you, it will not only affect you, but it'll also affect everything that you are in relation to. And I think that that's probably the most important message that I can give to people, because I realize that about myself. What Body Talk showed me is that I have value, that I could appreciate who I was, that I could appreciate my talents, my intuition, and what I bring to the table. And I would really like, to share that with other people.
Beautifully said, Caryn. What a great way of putting it out there, that everybody's precious, and especially that what you do. Some people say, "Oh, the problem lies somewhere else." No,
Mm,
you just start with
mm,
yourself, and then the
mm.
universe around you changes. So, well,
Exactly,
very
yeah.
well said.
I remember a lecturer once said to me, she said to me, "You're a victim." And I said, "Okay." And she just was totally taken back. And I said to her, "Listen, if my thoughts, my actions, or my attitude, whether it's negative or positive, create my reality, then I create the outcome, whether I like the outcome or not. So if I'm dissatisfied with the outcome, what do I need to do? I need to change my thoughts, my actions, and my attitude. So it's all up to me, right?"
Yes, gives you the power.
Exactly. Exactly. It makes you understand how powerful you are and how valuable you are, you know, and how in control you are of yourself. People always want to have control of others. And you're like, no, just be in control of yourself and everything will flow from there.
So, last thing, do you want to share your email or your website? Uh, Anything?
I'll share my website. I have a website, www.capetownbodytalk.co.za, and on the website is all my contact information. So people are welcome to go there. And if they do want to contact me, it's best to do so via WhatsApp, because when I'm in session, I don't answer my phone, but I will answer your WhatsApp.
All right. Great
Okay. And
discussion, Caryn.
yeah, I
Sorry.
just want to add, sessions are in person and online as well.
Oh,
So,
yeah, that's
but you'll
true.
see that on the website. Yeah.
Yes, these days, the remote sessions are pretty popular. And the best thing about Body Talk is that it can be done anywhere, and whether in person or remotely. So we love that
Yes,
about Body
yes.
Talk.
Yeah.
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 Okay,
Yeah.
Caryn,
Great.
thank you very much for spending this precious time with me and enlightening all of us how Body Talk has opened up your world and how you are opening up other people's world to Body Talk. So until we meet
Oh,
again,
thank
thank
you.
you very much, Caryn.
Yes, thank
Bye.
you so much. Thank you for your time. Bye bye.
Bye.